This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, thousands of people joined climate marches across the country as pupils left classrooms and workers left jobs to take part. University of Otago academic Jim Flynn is dismayed a UK publisher has decided not to publish his work about free speech. And a rundown hall in Balclutha looks set to be demolished unless it gets a last-minute reprieve. Kia ora, good evening. I'm Daryl Baser. Tens of thousands of protesters took to the streets across the nation today as part of the global climate strike. Marches took place in Dunedin, Alexandra, Invercargill, Queenstown and Wanaka, coinciding with more than 40 marches and other events across the country. About 9,000 took to the streets in Dunedin to demand urgent action on climate change. School pupils were joined by students and staff from the University of Otago, as well as thousands of others for the third climate strike of the year.
I'm here today for my nephew and my future family that's going to be coming in soon. So I kind of just want to be here for all of the future generations and just, you know, for little kids. Because people don't realise what's happening, or they do, and they don't do anything about it. So I guess this is kind of the only other option. Yes, we had our Enviro group kind of organise the whole thing. So they organised buses to come down and they've kind of been really supportive. And so is the school, they've actually let us. Like they made permission slips and everything.
They also sent out emails to, like informing us about the strike and how we can get involved.
Just being really encouraging for us and
allowing us to be out of class on the last term as well to come and support School Strike for Climate.
We as students need to have a voice, and the only way to do this is to be like a collective and to do it all together, because we live in a society, I feel, where the voices of young people are sometimes denounced, and by all standing up together I feel it can be more powerful. I feel like it'll tell the government that we are worried about it and that we do want something to change and that we're not just going to stand by and wait for something to happen.
Yeah, it's exceeded all expectations. We've got like 2,000 to 3,000 people here. It's fantastic, it's amazing.
Similar protests were held around the country where similar chants were heard. In Dunedin, The South Today. An attempt by 3 Dunedin election candidates to give their campaigns some extra buoyancy struck rough seas yesterday. Russell Lund, Lee Vandervis and Hilary Calvert had installed their election signs on a dinghy in Andersons Bay Inlet. Everything was sailing along nicely until yesterday, when high winds drove the boat onto the inlet's sea wall, where it was secured by members of the public. The harbour master says the anchor was still attached when the boat was recovered, so it appears to have been dragged. Vandervis says the signs have been relocated to sites back on dry land. University of Otago Emeritus Professor Jim Flynn is no stranger to controversy, having been kicked out of 2 universities for speaking his mind. He's just been told by a publisher they're not going to publish his latest book about freedom of speech, saying it crosses the line into hate speech. In journalism and academia, they say publish or be damned. Well, imagine if your publisher refuses to release your book. It's the position University of Otago Emeritus Professor Jim Flynn is in after an English publisher has refused to release his book about free speech. Emerald Press scheduled it for publication, but has now decided not to proceed.
I've got nothing against Emerald. I'm sure their lawyers said there will be some risk, but that just shows how bad those laws are. They should include incitement. They should ban incitement.
The Emeritus Professor says Otago University has never tried to curtail his freedom of speech, despite the fact he's used to getting into trouble for speaking out, especially when he was working in America.
I was considered too friendly to blacks in the South, and I was considered a social democrat and therefore dangerous in the North, if you can imagine such a thing. So there are universities today who are just as intolerant as those universities were then.
He says the freedom of speech argument can't be talked about if people aren't allowed to discuss free speech openly.
Free speech will always hold the danger that some people will think the irrational side is won. If you don't allow for that danger, there's no free speech at all.
In the book, he discusses the opinions of Arthur Jensen, who he says he disagrees with, but he believes even quoting Jensen for the purpose of demolishing his arguments is one of the reasons the book was pulled.
You know, when I state in my book that Arthur Jensen thinks blacks are genetically less gifted for intelligence, I state that, and then I show all the arguments I have against it. And I say, through arguing with Jensen, I'm more sophisticated.
The manuscript in question is called In Defence of Free Speech, the university as censor. However, following the publisher's decision, he's considering changing the title to A Banned Book, Free Speech and Universities. Jim Flynn says several publishers from around the globe, but not Great Britain, have approached him about publishing it. In Dunedin, the South Today. New public seats have been installed at 3 disused bus stops on Dunedin's main street. Dubbed parklets, these combinations of seats and benches have been installed as a trial for the City Council's George Street redevelopment plan. The bus stops became redundant when the bus hub opened earlier this year. The sites are made using a range of materials, including wood and steel, and can be relocated if necessary. 2 other parklets are set to be installed, but their location is yet to be confirmed. The council says the cost of the 5 parklets is around $160,000. A rundown community hall in West Otago looks set for demolition unless an 11th hour alternative can be found. A public meeting is due to be held next Tuesday in the hall to decide if the 65-year-old facility is to be demolished, with a smaller shelter to be built in its place.
Dunrobin Hall, about 10 kilometres west of Rays Junction, suffering from long-standing disuse and disrepair, and now likely to be demolished. Local farmer Peter Adams says it'll be sad to see the hall go, but its current use does not justify the $30,000 it'll cost just to repair the roof.
The roof, I think, is about 30 on its own. Between that, and of course, it's the one at the front is all different angles and stuff, and it's a haven for cluster flies, which is, I don't know how you fix that one. No one knows how to fix that one.
The hall sits on several acres of land, and the 6 people who attended a meeting earlier about the domain and the hall's future are thinking a 2-bay shed with some other facilities would suit the needs of the community.
We'd build something else as a shelter sort of thing. We still have toilet facilities, running water, because people still use the grounds, or even we've had going back now, New Year's down here and stuff like that. So you still want to leave something.
Adams says the hall would be lucky to be used more than once every 6 months, which is a reflection on how much rural communities have changed.
It's going to be sad to see it go, because it's had a lot of good memories and stuff, but I'm not the old church across the road. What hasn't been a church ever since we've been here. We've been here since 2000 odd, so, and there's probably a lot of halls around the community are doing the same thing. Struggling, not getting used.
If the hall is to be demolished, it's likely the honour boards and photographs will go to another hall in nearby Heriot, about 10 minutes drive away. Locals are invited to attend a final vote on the hall's future at 7:30 next Tuesday evening. In Dunrobin, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, a Dunedin man has come up with an innovative way for people to save their favourite memories, and one of Dunedin's most prominent families is set together for a reunion. See you after the break.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
When it's time to say goodbye to your pet, Heaven Sent Pet Cremations are here to help you through this difficult experience. Call Heaven Sent Pet Cremations today for their care and guidance. Phone 489-2274.
At Alex Campbell Menswear, we bring you the best value. We have bought a massive selection of moleskins, and we're passing on the savings to you. Buy one pair, save $25. Buy two, save $60, and we've got a great deal on our knitwear. Look at it all, 25% off all our knitwear. And to go with the knitwear, what about a nice warm shirt? These are 25% off too. And while we're doing the 25% off, what about on the jackets? 25% off them as well.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
So check us out for massive savings this winter.
Garrador Dunedin, delivering quality stylish garage doors in Dunedin for over 17 years. New doors, replacement doors and maintenance are all part of Garrador's quality service. Garrador Dunedin offers a full range of modern quality doors to suit any home. Come visit the team.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole Map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Step into Ross Cafe, located at Ross Home in North East Valley. We have a great range of hot and cold food, friendly service and a warm atmosphere that you are sure to enjoy. We look forward to serving you soon at Ross Cafe.
If you're suffering from sciatica, lower back pain, hips and pelvis and knees, this technique will work wonders for you. The energy flow is transmitting through the muscles. Come and see Sunny Chin.
Step into Shop on Carol and discover a shop full of treasures. We have a fantastic range of vintage and retro clothes, upmarket clothing labels, collectible items, beautiful jewellery, quality linen and the best range of vintage haberdashery.
No mai no, welcome back. A mother's tears were the motivation for a smartphone app developed in Dunedin which helps families preserve digital photos. Alex Dong is the man behind startup company Happy Moose, who've developed a clever app which sifts through the photos on your phone, choosing the best images. Selecting and collecting your treasured memories.
So the app will scan through your photos, throw away all the photos of receipts, where you park your cars, all the invoices, screenshots, lecture notes, things that does not have any emotional value. The app will throw those out.
Thanks to a $100,000 grant from the Callaghan Innovation Fund, the growing team at Happy Moose in Dunedin's Wharf area are helping smartphone photographers select and preserve their precious memories. Founder Alex Dong says he was moved to create the app after talking with parents.
And I managed to ask one lady, like, why are you crying? Because this is like, quite a strong motivation thing. And she said, when she grew up, her mom and dad always made an album for one of each her siblings. So when she had the baby, she always thought that she will do the same for her children. But now two children, it's like all school age, she has these like 37,000 photos.
What began as a one-man operation in Dong's study has now grown to employing a handful of staff.
It's bloody tricky, because this is a very heated area. There are a lot of people doing photos. So on one hand, we want to grow the business sustainable, everybody enjoying the job. The other one is we are competing internationally. So that's a balanced thing. Yeah, it's not easy.
As the app's creator, Dong owns the intellectual property and plans to franchise the app around New Zealand and possibly the world. In Dunedin, The South Today. 250 members of the Suhoi family will gather in Dunedin this weekend, celebrating their famous ancestor, Choi Suhoi. Choi Suhoi first came to Dunedin 150 years ago and became well established as an importer of Chinese goods and a gold miner.
Standing outside the building where a famous ancestor set their family's history in motion. Duncan, Marcus and Chase Suhoi are all descendants of Dunedin identity Choi Suhoi.
This was Choi Suhoi's warehouse, his second warehouse, and he built this in the 1890s, so it's over 100 years old.
Around 250 family members are getting together in Dunedin this weekend to celebrate the history of their famous forebearer. Suhoi established himself in Dunedin in 1869, having left home at the young age of 13 in search of gold, first in California and later in Otago.
He made his way to New Zealand in 1868, where he came to Dunedin, and and they managed to start two companies that were looking for gold, and was a merchant here as well. So, I mean, you've got to be pretty brave to get up on a boat when you're 13 and disappear to the other side of the world with none of your family. It's something special, and something we can all learn from,
Duncan Suhoi says his ancestor was a well-integrated figure in the local community.
He participated in a lot of raising funding for hospitals or so on in his time.
Suhoi's surname was actually Choi, but people started calling him by his first name and he eventually adopted it as his new surname.
Normally they would call him by his Christian name, Suhoi. And also when he signed documents, he just signed it as Suhoi. So gradually his European friends would put a Mr. in front, so he was more well known as Mr. Suhoi than Mr. Choi. So he adopted that as his family name.
It's thought there are now well over 1,000 people across the world with the Suhoi name, all of them descendants of Choi Suhoi.
Once I was in Singapore and I was staying at a dorm, and someone came up to me and said, "Hey, there's another Suhoi staying at the university?" And I said, "No, there's not. Otherwise I would know." And they said, "No, for sure. I've met him before, and it's not you." So I went and met him, and it turns out he's my cousin. So, without doubt, all Suhois will be related.
This weekend's reunion will be the third gathering of the family and includes a walking tour of the city to visit places linked to their forebearer. In Dunedin, the South Today.
After the break on the South Today, a piece of sand art has highlighted suicide awareness, and we look at the improving weather situation heading into the weekend. See you soon.
Every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
You've seen us in the street, now find us online. Check out shopon.org.nz. We have all sorts of treasures, from retro and vintage clothing to antiques, homewares and accessories. New items added every week. We're open 24/7.
Garrador Dunedin, delivering quality stylish garage doors in Dunedin for over 17 years. New doors, replacement doors and maintenance are all part of Garrador's quality service. Garrador Dunedin offers a full range of modern quality doors to suit any home. Come visit the team.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Step into Ross Cafe, located at Ross Home in North East Valley. We have a great range of hot and cold food, friendly service and a warm atmosphere that you are sure to enjoy. We look forward to serving you soon at Ross Cafe.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Thanks for staying with us. A large stretch of St Kilda Beach in Dunedin was transformed into a massive art canvas last weekend. Dunedin artist Tony Gillies and about 50 helpers spent hours creating a 1.5 kilometre artwork to promote suicide awareness. Rakes and sticks were used to carve nearly 685 giant hearts into the sand, representing the number of people who took their own lives in New Zealand last year. Gillies is a signwriter by trade, and the mural is his largest work so far. Around 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, the tide washed the sand clear, which Gillies described as a beautiful part of the whole experience. If you or someone you know needs help in the mental health field, there are many helplines available. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South Today. Thousands of people joined climate marches across the country as pupils left classrooms and workers left jobs to take part. University of Otago academic Jim Flynn is dismayed that a UK publisher is refusing to publish his book about free speech. And a rundown hall in Balclutha looks set to be demolished unless it gets a last-minute reprieve at a meeting next week. Time now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Mr. Hayden Meikle.
Good evening, Daryl.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm chipper.
Excellent. Well, readers of the ODT will be very chipper tomorrow because there's lots and lots and lots of good stuff. There's so much good stuff I've brought all 3 pages, but I won't read them all. The Climate March obviously is featured prominently already. Incredible crowd out there, young and old this time, parents and grandparents and friends and supporters of the kids. The movement is growing around the whole country. We saw huge crowds and we had people out in the various regions in the south taking photos of the climate marches. So there'll be some great coverage, including a very striking photo or two of the climate march. Lovely story about albatrosses. Fascinating yarn this. Heavy winds this week have been blowing some of our big birds off track. We've had people reporting albatrosses landing in various places, garage roofs, and in one case, I believe Lumsden was the area where an albatross arrived out of the sky. So I'm fascinated to read the rest of that story, actually, as I'm sure lots of people will be. We've got a big read on Dave Cull. So obviously Dave Cull, the Dunedin Mayor, has come into the end of his days as the Mayor of the city. 9 years in the top job. He's seen a lot, been through a lot. So our Chris Morris had a long sit down with Dave recently. And we present that feature tomorrow with some associated video online. So it'll be well read, I'm sure. Dave looking back over the highs and lows of his time in the mayoralty. Mike Houlihan's political column, very popular on page 2. David Lockray's column always gives us something to laugh about or smile about or think about. A bit of sport, obviously. Courtney Duncan, our world champion, how wonderful she is. He had a civet reception in mighty Palmerston today. I think the first civet reception in about 65 years in that town. So we were up there at that as well. A lovely story about a family getting into karate. Look, there's literally something for everybody in tomorrow's paper, Daryl. I'm sure you and all our readers will enjoy it and enjoy it over the cornflakes in the morning.
Excellent plan. Have a good night. Thank you, Hamish. Hamish? Hayden.
It's Hayden.
It's Hayden. Thanks, mate. Time now for a look at the weather for the weekend.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, spring blossom getting blown around in Dunedin. Looking at the situation, a west to southwesterly airflow remains this weekend with showers on the ranges and south coast, but mostly fine weather elsewhere. Starting off at the northwest of the South Island, Greymouth and Westport can expect showers, grey skies and 14 degrees. Across to the northeast, where Nelson and Blenheim are due for a few clouds and 18 degrees. Moving down to Canterbury, Kaikoura you're due for a few clouds and 16. Christchurch and Ashburton you can both expect a cloud or two and 17 degrees. Looking at what's in store for the southern towns, you can all expect fresh westerlies and showers. The Catalans and Balclutha head for 15, while Gore and Lumsden should reach 14 degrees. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes region, expect moderate westerlies and cloudy skies for most across this area. Queenstown heads for 14, Wanaka should reach 15, Alexandria you're set to be the warmest in this region, aiming for 16 degrees. And Te Anau, sorry to say, you're set for showers and 13 degrees. Up to the northern towns, Timaru and Oamaru can look forward to northerlies and fine weather, 18 for Timaru and 17 for Oamaru. Further inland, Twizel and Omarama are set for fresh westerlies and some cloud, 15 degrees for you both. In Dunedin, cloudy tonight with westerly winds and an overnight low of 6 degrees. Sunny for most of tomorrow with fresh mild westerly winds, but cooler southwesterlies develop in the evening. Planned for a high of 18 and a low of 5. Mostly cloudy on Sunday with northeasterlies developing and cool temperatures. Rain develops Sunday night with a high of 14 and a low of 7. And in Invercargill, cloudy tonight with westerly winds and an overnight low of 8. Cloudy with showers tomorrow and fresh gusty southwesterlies with cool south to west to southwest winds, aiming for a high of 13 and a low of 8. Cooler on Sunday with showers increasing during the day, a high of 11 and a low of 7 degrees. And that's all from the South Today team for this Friday, and in fact for the week. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz, follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great weekend and a great evening and a restful weekend. Don't forget to spring your clocks forward on Saturday night for daylight saving. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.